lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by tonight, for tuning in for our Ukraine War Report for the 10th of June of 2022. Again, big hello, big hearty hello to everybody that is tuning in this evening. At last minute there, I had to restart the 24/7 cam stream to try to get notifications pushed out to everybody. So there'll probably be some more people joining us here as those notifications go out and reach people here. But we're going to get started tonight, again, going through our primary headlines to begin with, and then we'll switch over to our community aggregated news reporting, and then, of course, we'll finish things up with our open source reports from things like Live UA Map and some of those other sources. Again, big hearty hello to everybody in the chat. I see a few of you that have been with us, I think, almost all day over on the 24/7 cam stream. There's some of you just tuning in now as well. Some familiar faces. Kender, hello to you. Unstinkable, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. OG Smiley 69. Emily, thank you so much for tuning in. Red-Blooded American, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Hope you are having a good evening. Takey Jakey, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Benny Hill, Stephen Gregory, Dirk Clavespierre says a very good evening to you. A very good evening to you as well, Dirk Clavespieler. Pyrotech, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Again, always great to see another fellow fireworks enthusiast in the live chat. Epi Moo, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. LD429, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Without further ado, we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with our primary headlines for this evening, again, on the ongoing war in Ukraine. If you haven't already, guys, please hit that like button, or as we've been saying lately, you can javelin that like button. All right, best way to get the algorithm's attention, best way to get this information into the hands of more people. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, or if you're on Twitch, you can hit that follow button. Best way to get notified when new streams and videos go live. So, opening up this evening, the main news here. We're going through our main headlines. The battles for the Donbass are continuing as they have been for a few weeks now, for many weeks now, arguably. More specifically, the battle for Severodonetsk is continuing to rage on. We're going to go into the specifics when we get over into our open source reports. We'll be able to take a look in depth on what's going on there in Severodonetsk. Between about 100 and 200 Ukrainian troops are being killed on the front line every day. Again, this came from a Ukrainian senior presidential aide who told BBC. That's double the combat toll previously estimated by Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky as battles for the country's eastern regions grind into another week. Despite billions of dollars in military aid from the U.S. and European allies, Ukraine says it's outgunned by Russia, and Kiev continues to plead for more weapons. Again, in the newest estimates, between about 100 and 200 Ukrainian troops are being killed on the front lines every day. Right? Now, that's not mentioning what the Russian casualty numbers are like either. They're probably arguably comparable or even higher in some cases, and I've talked about this as they are on the offensive. The Ukrainians are in defensive positions, and so, again, we expect those Russian troop casualties on the daily count to be a little bit higher than what we're seeing on the Ukrainian side of things, as just the nature of this invasion. Again, concerns are growing about a possible cholera outbreak in the Russian-occupied city of Mariupol. The city's mayor, who is now based outside of the city, he's not in Mariupol anymore, said they're estimating here about 20,000 civilians may have died in Russia's siege of the southern port city. Again, and corpses have been contaminating the wells in that area. They've been having a lot of issues with water contamination. Not just water contamination, but bodies that have been decomposing in the streets, in buildings, and elsewhere. It's become a pretty big problem there. Again, the British Defense Ministry said medical services in Mariupol are near collapse, again, as Russia struggles to provide public services in occupied areas. Again, Mariupol has basically been destroyed. It's been leveled to the ground. And so, again, Russia has been struggling to get that infrastructure back in place, get that medical infrastructure back in place, especially. British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace met with Zelensky in Kiev and pledged to continue supporting Ukraine with military and other aid. The United Kingdom is also pushing for the release of those 2 British nationals that I spoke about on last night's report. That were convicted of mercenary activities and have been sentenced to death by a court in the pro-Russian separatist Donetsk region. That's the DPR. British officials said they were working with Kiev to secure the soldiers' release. So a little glimmer of hope there for those 2 British nationals, and that Moroccan as well, possibly, all 3 of them might be released. We're going to have to wait and see how that pans out. Russia's central bank cut its interest rates to their pre-war level, citing slowing inflation. The bank chopped its key rate to 9.5%, more than Western economists had expected, as Russia eases back from the 20% emergency rate hike when the war began and Western sanctions followed. Bank Governor Elvira Nabalina, again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, said the effect of sanctions so far has been, quote, less acute than feared, though she acknowledged they haven't reached their full effect as of yet. Again, that concludes our primary headlines for this evening, our key topic headlines. We're now going to switch over to some of our community aggregated news for the evening. Our first post comes from a user by the name of Tygon. He's been a good contributor in recent weeks here. Before we start, though, if you'd like to follow along with these community aggregated posts, you can find them in the Situation Room channel over on our Discord server. That's discord.gg/Nemico. Everybody's welcome to join over there. Again, I hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday evening here. I wish we could be joining each other here under better circumstances. However, I'm glad that those of you that are here have decided to take the time out of your day to get informed on what is going on in this ongoing conflict here. Again, let's get right into these community aggregated reports. So our first post here comes from a user by the name of Tygon. I'm going to switch over to our big screen here quick. There we go. That'll work. Okay, so this is, again, coming from a unverified Twitter account here by the name of Canadian-Ukrainian Volunteer. It talks about another POW exchange taking place in Mykolaiv region, 5 hours for 4 of theirs. So you can see some footage here on screen of what looks to be possibly from that prisoner exchange.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
І так, черговий обмін. Саме головне, що люди повернулися. Зараз вже довозимо їх до міста. Все буде Україна.
Thank you for posting that, Tygon. Really quickly, I guess we could do this while we're here. I forgot I had this open here. So this is our gas price index for the U.S. here. Again, coming from gasprices.aaa.com. We've made an effort the past few weeks here to keep an eye on these gas prices as they've soared to probably some of the highest levels I've seen in my lifetime, especially where I live here in the States. I've never seen $5 gas prices. I mean, I think it did happen once when I was a kid, maybe. I don't remember, but in my conscious lifetime, I have not seen gas prices as high as they are now, and I know a lot of you would agree, especially those of you from California and the West Coast here. They really got they're pretty bad off out there in California right now. Again, about $7 in some of these areas for fuel well over the $6 mark in many of these counties here. We usually do our gas price roundup. We might do that at the end with our Q&A, but I'm going to continue on with our community aggregated reports for this evening. I have one that just came in here from Reckman151, coming from Nexta TV on Twitter. They are a verified source. Putin thinks he's a Tsar and hinted that he's not going to stop at Ukraine. Putin said that, Tsar Peter, I didn't conquer new territories, but I returned those previously Russia lost, and he turned today to events. It seems now it's our turn to return and strengthen. Some broken English there in that translation.
За это, то это очевидная вещь. Вот сейчас мы были на выставке, посвященной 350-летию Петру Первому. Почти ничего не изменилось.
So there is no live English translation there.
Приходишь к этому осознанию.
That's basically the gist there of what he said in those statements. Definitely some interesting rhetoric there. Our next post here comes from Pyrotech, longtime contributor and fellow Pyro. This comes from a Telegram source, I believe. It's Donetsk, I believe it's called. This shows some footage of what they and I quote here, arrivals in Kubievsky district of Donetsk right now. I believe referring to arriving shelling there. See here in this clip on screen. So some shelling that occurred in Donetsk earlier today. Our next post here comes from Charlie Wong. Charlie Wong, thank you so much for, as usual, posting this great information over here. We got this is gbnews.uk. So this is an argument here. Basically, they're saying that nuclear attack information campaigns should restart as the threat to UK matches Cold War days. So, during the Cold War, for those of you that don't know, during the Cold War and even before the Cold War, right after the World War II, I would argue, there was a lot of public information put out about how citizens should react in the event of a nuclear attack, because it was a very realistic possibility back then. So things like where, what to do, like where to find your shelters, what to store in your shelter, all sorts of things like that. I've spent probably countless hours online watching old-timey stock footage videos that were put out by, like the U.S. military and other, like the Civil Defense, I believe it's called, used to put those videos out. Basically it would instruct citizens on how to behave in the event of a nuclear attack, where to go, what to do, when to do this, etc. And so basically they're arguing here that that they should restart those public information campaigns to prepare the population for the possibility of a possible Russian nuclear attack. I'll read you a little bit from this article here. Lessons should be learned from the response to the COVID-19 outbreak and put into preparedness for possible radioactive fallout, the authors of a new paper on the nuclear risk have said. While war in Ukraine has heightened fears of a radioactive bomb being used, they also state that the world's shift away from fossil fuels towards nuclear power has increased the chance of an accident somewhere in the world. So basically here they're just arguing that it would be better off if there was some kind of public information campaign, just to instruct people on how to react if there's some kind of nuclear accident, how to react if there's some kind of nuclear attack of some kind. Again, given the modern circumstances that we're in today with the war, etc. Again, thank you, Charlie Wong, for posting that in the Situation Room. Our next one comes from Rot Lady here. We're going to finish up with this one tonight, I believe. This is North Seltvika, Kharkiv, in the evening, and it's just showing it how much of a ghost town it is. I guess, especially since most of the city's infrastructure has been destroyed. There's not many streetlights on, probably for good reason, especially to avoid nighttime air raid attacks. I'm pretty sure they do take lights down in the city. But you can see here just kind of how dead the city of Kharkiv looks. Again, I'm calling it a ghost town there. Again, thank you to everybody that posted those updates in the Situation Room this evening. Takey Jakey says it looks like a Half-Life 2 or Gmod level. Yeah, it has a very eerie vibe to it. Again, Kharkiv has seen probably some of the hardest bombardment, some of the hardest fighting in this war. Their infrastructure has been absolutely devastated there in Kharkiv, and you can tell just by looking at that photo. I mean, how little the city is lit up. There's no skyline anymore. The skyline has basically been destroyed because there's no power on. A lot of the buildings have been destroyed. Benny Hill says, Adblock Nemico goofs are awesome. I agree. So now we're going to switch over to our open source reports. We're going to go through about the last 12 hours of our live UA map updates here. We'll start at the 11-hour mark so I don't have to go to the previous page here, because then we'll get all messed up when we try to come back. 11 hours ago here, British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace met President Zelensky in Kiev. I reported on this earlier this evening when we were going through our headlines here. You can see on screen here a picture of that meeting that took place. "11 hours ago, explosion reported in central Donetsk." You can see a video here of that
Попадание по бульвару Пушкина.
or the aftermath of those explosions.
Скорее всего, сюда достал.
"10 hours ago, medical services in Mariupol are likely already near collapse. A major cholera outbreak in Mariupol will exacerbate this further," warns the defense headquarters of Ukraine. 9 hours ago, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Rybakov discussed some issues on the bilateral agenda with the U.S. ambassador, the foreign ministry said. About 9 hours ago this occurred. 9 hours ago, after the conversation with Schultz, in a decisive and sharp way, he asked Serbia to join the sanctions against Russia. 8 hours ago, Russian army shelled Ukrainian positions with MLRS mortars and howitzers near Kharkiv and a few different regions there. Again, this came from the evening report from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. These wonderful evening reports have been like clockwork the past few weeks here, as they, I think, attempt to increase the amount of information transparency that they're putting out to these media outlets and stuff. I've noticed we're getting a lot more information from these General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reports, especially their evening reports. 8 hours ago, Russian artillery shelled Dolnya, Ternova, and quite a few other areas there. So I'll show you, if you can see here, where that first cluster of reports came in. And then you can see where that cluster came in. And then 8 hours ago here, clashes continue in Severodonetsk. Russian army shelled Severodonetsk, Lysychansk. You can see where all of these reports are occurring here on the map. If we take a little zoom in here, you can see shellings in Severodonetsk and Lysychansk and a lot of the outlying areas as well. Eight hours ago, at the Bakhmut direction, Russian shelled areas near New York, Zolty, Varebka, and a few different regions there. You can see where those strikes were located on the map. 8 hours ago, Russian army with mortars, MLRS, and howitzers shelled Advidka, Tolniki, Nelvelsky, and quite a few other areas you can see here on the map. Many different strikes occurring here in the past 12 hours. Russian Su-25 planes conducted airstrikes near Marinka, and a few different, another region there, Krasnohorivka. Again, I'm not sure if I'm 100% correctly pronouncing that there, but again, Ka-52 helicopters shelled an area near Novo-Bakhmutka and an Mi-8 near Olek Zendropol. Again, you can see there coming from that evening report. You can see where those are located on the map there. So so again, just a lot of strikes have occurred, and the Russian Air Force is also getting pretty involved here in many of these different areas in the east, as you can see. There's been quite a few different reports coming out of these Russian fighter planes getting involved directly on the ground here in the east. 8 hours ago at Liman direction, Russian forces continue to fortify positions near Severhorsk, shelled an area near Dronivka, and Serebryanka. Again, that came from the evening report as well. You can see where those are located here, a little bit north of those last reports. 5 hours ago, interception over Sevastopol today, according to the occupation authorities in that area. According to occupation authorities, it's a drill, they said, so that's interesting. See some footage here of that missile contrail in the air. Five hours ago in Novolazivka, the Hainechesk district, the Russian military searched the home of the Dolgopolov family and kidnapped a member of their family, according to the Crimean Tatar Resource Center. You can see where that was located there. 4 hours ago, Ukrainian military pushed Russian troops 5 to 7 kilometers further from Zaporizhia, Melitopol. We talked about yesterday, I believe, about a Ukrainian counteroffensive that was rumored to be happening near Melitopol. It would seem now that the Ukrainian military has launched that counteroffensive with some success, pushing those troops 5 to 7 kilometers further from Zaporizhia. 4 hours ago, Russian hackers sent emails to Ukrainian media, the opening of which will lead to the download of a dangerous virus. Emails contain an application in the form of a document, list of links to interactive maps.docs, the opening of which can lead to downloading of the malware known as Crescent LMP. Very interesting cyber alert there coming from Live UA Map. 4 hours ago, Alisky Chubyeshev, a military correspondent, author, and host of a reality show, Recruit Ukraine, was killed at the front line. Alisky was also the head of Army, Foreign Minister, and Military Television of Ukraine. You can see a picture of him there on screen. 4 hours ago, one killed as a result of Russian artillery shelling in Krasnopila, territorial community of the Sumy region. You can see that on screen there. 3 hours ago, explosions again reported in Kharkiv. We have 3 hours ago explosions now at Saltvitka, Kharkiv. You can see a video of this here. I believe this is from Telegram. So we're hearing some video, or sorry, some audio of those explosions there. Three hours ago, finishing us off here, Russian army shelling at Vrublivka village with what they are saying is incendiary ammunition here. You can see a picture on screen, reportedly, of these incendiary munitions being used. Some of the subsequent fires that are occurring on the ground. That about finishes up our open source report. Sorry, I was just reading some of your guys' comments there. Yeah, I am trying to do better with some of these pronunciations. Pronunciations of these longer town names can be a bit much sometimes. I love the Ukrainian language. I also love the Russian language. Both are, there are similarities. And the pronunciation of both Russian town names and Ukrainian town names can be a real challenge. It's a good challenge, though. And I feel like I've gotten better at pronouncing quite a few of them that I should have gotten down pat right off the bat. Things like Kiev and Kharkiv and Kherson. Not pronouncing the K's. I've been trying to work on that as well. But again, thank you to everybody that stopped by tonight. We're going to do a little bit of a Q&A now. I'm going to go through some of these comments and questions here. Doom Pie coming in clutch as usual with our weather forecast. We can start out with that. He says the weather forecast for Kiev, 0400, 17 degrees centigrade, clear sky, east, winds 12 kilometers an hour, sunrise 0447, sunset 2109. Thank you so much for that weather forecast. As always, Doom Pie coming in clutch over there on the Twitch chat. Takey Jakey says, what is incendiary ammunition? I am not English. So incendiary means to start on fire. Basically, incendiary ammunition is just ammunition that sets stuff ablaze. It basically is meant to start things on fire. Okay, it's meant to start fires. It's meant to burn down structures. It's meant to burn down vegetation, so things like trees, grass, etc., which can be used as concealment for enemy forces. So again, if they can burn down buildings, that can be used as cover. If they can burn down trees, that can be used as cover, etc. That is the goal there. Stephen Gregory, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Says, thanks, Nemico, for a report tonight. No problem, as usual. I almost died there. Okay. Mother Saki, thank you so much for stopping by tonight. Says, you're doing a lot better, Nemico Network. Well, I am trying. I am attempting to do better at those pronunciations. Benny Hill asks, Nemico, those two lads on firing squad, will the officers that ordered it be taken out? That's hard. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. That might not. They might not actually go through with the. I'm hoping. I'm praying that there is a prisoner exchange that occurs there, and that those two British lads can get back home, and as well as that Moroccan fellow as well. There's three of them, not just the two British guys. Kender asks, Nemico, do you eat hamburger helper? Chat wants to know. I'm actually not a fan of hamburger helper. I would eat it. I will eat it if need be. Not something I would just be grabbing off the shelves at the store, though. Takey Jakey says, if anyone knows, is the Russian military strategy clear? And if so, what is it, and is it working? That's a great question, Takey Jakey. And so, in some ways, their military strategy is clear, and in others, it is not. So, they obviously underestimated their own capability early on, okay, with what happened in the north, with what happened around Kiev. On the other hand, however, what they're currently conducting in Donbass, this extended, protracted, elongated, grinding assault that is happening in the Donbass, that's the type of fighting that Russia is honestly built for. Okay, they're built for just mass bombardment of positions. Kind of like just an all-out, slow, halting grind of territory. And they've been known in the past for that sort of fighting, and that's kind of what we're seeing now in the East. It's this kind of like slow grind of, at times anemic territory control, right? But over time they have made slow and incremental gains. Those cannot be denied, especially specifically in the east of the country, I should say, in the Donbass. They have been making slow and incremental progress there. At great cost, though, yes, at great cost to not only their equipment, but to their personnel. To answer the question, though, is the military strategy clear? I wouldn't really say it's clear, but it's clear enough, especially what's happening in the east, to kind of get a gist of what their game plan is here. They've definitely underestimated themselves multiple times. And to answer your second question, what is it? That's basically, again, just that slow kind of progressive grind. They're conducting these pincer movements that we're seeing take place here. Mass bombardment before sending in troops. It's another thing we see a pattern of, is they really like to heavily saturate areas with shelling, with missile fire, etc., before they send in troops. So we're seeing that. That's typical to the Russian playbook. To answer your third question, is it working? That's arguable. As I said earlier, and I've said many times, the progress they make is most times anemic. However, they have made undeniable, slow, and incremental progress in gaining control over areas in the east here. Russia has had probably the most success they've had this whole war in the past few weeks. The war, up until about the past few weeks, was not going very good for Russia. I would say in the past few weeks, though, they have, at least the past week or two, they have started to make some progress here in the east. They've started to take back, to push back those Ukrainian forces in and around Severodonetsk. They've started to conduct this pincer movement you're seeing on screen here. I can just kind of zoom in so you guys can see this here. This pincer movement here. They're trying to cut off all the Ukrainian forces that are in this pocket. That's what we're seeing happen there. They have been taking incremental, very slow and incremental progress. However, that's not to say the Ukrainians haven't been able to launch very successful counteroffensives in many different areas, because they have. I mean, they've retaken all of this land in and around Kharkiv, all of this territory in and around Kharkiv they've taken back. There's many different pockets around here that they sporadically have taken back from the Russians. They've pushed them back over here by Zaporizhia. This just happened today. Again, only time will tell as this grinds on here. Unstinkable asks, do we know if the PZH-2000s are active in Ukraine yet? I am not aware. I am not sure. Michelle Kilpatrick says, lol, breathe Nemico. I try. Got to keep oxygenated. Got to stay oxygenated and hydrated. Kendra says, see Chad, he almost died at the thought of Hamburger Helper. Yeah, not a big fan. Not a big fan. Steve Gregory says, lol, going to use some incendiary on some hot tamales after the report. I hope those go well for you, Steven. And I hope the morning after is smooth and uneventful. Takey Jakey asks, what do you think will happen if those Englishmen do get executed? I believe there will be some sort of response eventually. We've already seen a response with Ukraine coming out with their own 3 mercenaries that have been put on trial now. Did you guys see that? Ukraine, they came out with their own 3 mercenaries. They have 3 captured Russian, quote, mercenaries, which they are also putting on trial. So there's already kind of been a response there. That was a direct response to those 3 captured in Mariupol. Connor Payne asks, /if/when Severodonetsk, does that make it easier for Russia to take the Donbass? Yes. If they do take Severodonetsk and Lysychansk in that region, it makes it considerably easier for them to assume control over the rest of the Donbass, or at least the rest of that region of the Donbass. Just me, thank you so much for those kind words. It means a lot for me to have you tune in back in every evening. Thank you so much for stopping by. So, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name here. I'm just going to say AO something Omega. I'm not sure exactly what symbol that is. The special military operation terms were clear. All mercenaries will face criminal trials. Make no mistake, these soldiers of fortune did this to themselves, and it's mostly on Liz Truss's hands. So I take that you're speaking from a pro-Russian perspective there. I think one would argue that on both sides of the conflict, these trials are just shows. Most of them are. What we're seeing here, again, especially with what happened in the DPR, is obviously like a mock television trial. Okay, they were forced to admit a guilty verdict, or sorry, they were forced to plead guilty, and they weren't given very much of an opportunity to defend their position at all. It wasn't. One would argue it's not even a fair trial at that point. Stephen Gregory asks, do I have a defibrillator? I should have one on standby in case we need one. That might be important. As Doompie says, keep it moist. As always, Doompie. As always, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by this evening. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to get updated on what is going on in Ukraine in this ongoing war here. I should have switched back over to the newsroom. I forgot to do that. I was reading your guys' comments and got distracted there. But here we are, here at last. As Mythical says, I wish we could all wake up and all this is just a really bad nightmare and all would be normal. I think there's a lot of people, Mythical, that would agree with you there. Yeah, again, day 108 today of this ongoing war, guys. Over 108 days this has been going on. Only time will tell as to how long this carries on for, but we will see, and we will be here back every weekday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to bring you guys the updates on what is going on in Ukraine. This is our last report for the week, as it is Friday. I hope everybody has a beautiful weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday at 8 p.m. That's 3 a.m. Ukraine time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't already, guys, hit that like button. It's the best way to get the algorithm's attention, get this information into more people's hands. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Best way to get notified when new videos or streams go live. If you're looking for any of the sources that we use, any links to anything, you can find that in the description below. If you can't find it there, you can find it over on our Discord server, discord.gg/Nemico. There's an invite link to that in the description below. Everybody's welcome to join over there. You can contribute to not only the discussions, but you can contribute to the reports from our community aggregated news over on the Situation Room there. You can feel free to pick up your Intel Analyst rank in the Welcome channel and contribute to those nightly reports. Got a whole bunch of video content coming down the pipeline for you guys in the coming weeks here. Got a whole bunch of other streams planned as well. We got interviews planned. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming at you guys. I'm really excited to be bringing that to you. As usual, we'll be getting our 24/7 cam stream right back up after this is done. So don't go anywhere. We will have that 24/7 cam stream up as usual. Keep an eye on what's going on in Ukraine. Catch us back here again next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 3 a.m. Ukraine. Until next time, guys, you are watching Nemico Network.
Something that will change our daily lives.